So I've been actually here as a professor in the business school for 52 years. So we came out here and established ourselves, and then a few years later I had a postdoctoral fellowship from the Ford Foundation, and so that enabled me to change my label, because I had wanted to do management. I had done management at Oregon State. I was early looking at management as a field for university teaching. But when I came here, I found out that I had been labeled operation systems, and it really looked like I wouldn't be able to change that label. But at Cornell, I did then a year in sociology, social psychology, and anthropology. Wonderful year. And of course, then coming back, I got my label changed and got identified with management and organization. But I'm a jack of all trades, basically, you know, because you think back on these areas, including forest technology there in the background, and that it just turns out nobody can take away the education that you have internalized. It will always be with you, and in the most surprising ways, it turns out to be useful. And so I found that you know, there are a lot of hardware stores, lumber mills locally, and so I was engaged in consulting these organizations, and with the forest technology as a minor, I could actually speak the language that suggested that I knew something about it. So that worked out too. So it's been a wonderful time, actually. You know. And then, of course, my sons. Well, first my wife saw the handwriting on the wall that clearly there would someplace be France, because I had become a Francophile as a result of my summer in Paris. And so, sure enough, I got a sabbatical and we left for France and settled in Tours, in the Chateau country. And my boys went to French high school. So they had not managed, we had not managed to have sufficient discipline to give them a Scandinavian language. But they did get French, so that was kind of fun. We had a wonderful year there. And then along the way they became students, of course, and they both went to Lakeside, and then the question of what to do next, and I said, well, now it's time for University of Washington. I said, your university? They always will refer to us that, is your dad Saxberg in the business school? I said, well, that's a minor discomfort compared to being a student here. And so they were both pursuing their work here in the honors program at the University of Washington. So Bo did he did a double degree in chemistry and mathematics, and Bror did a double degree in electrical engineering and mathematics. And then they then went on, as I suggested. Bo did physics in Cambridge, and Bror did statistical theory at Oxford. And then Bo went to Harvard for an MBA, for an MD. And then Bror followed and did an MD at Harvard. And then Bo did a PhD in physics at MIT. And Bror did a degree in artificial intelligence at MIT. And then decided not to become, go into practice, medical practice, but rather use other opportunities. So within our family, I once counted that we had 16 degrees from the University of Washington. I have none. All the others have been breathing the air of the University of Washington. This is a great university here in the Northwest. It's been very instrumental in how our family has made peace with it. Then of course we found ourselves dealing with inheriting the family farm of my wife in Norway. And so the Norwegian laws declare that the oldest one has first right. And my wife had an older sister, but she became too fragile to hang on to it, so we bought her out. And then the laws also require that you must go to live on a farm and operate for 5 years. So that's when we made a rearrangement in our lifestyle, so that my wife is a commuter between Oslo and Seattle, and I'm a commuter between Seattle and Oslo. But she spends a lot of time in Norway, because then after the 5-year period was up, we simply discovered that the system had worked. She was busy with the farm, I was busy with the university. And we had 2 phone calls a week, day and time decided on. And she came to Seattle for a few months every year. She loves Seattle. And I did some 4 or 5 trips to Norway every year. And I just got my ticket for spending Christmas in Norway. So you do what you have to do in order to make things happen. So again, these surprises. And it's basically a timber producing farm, so my forest technology turned out to make me very useful, which was surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Okay, you shut it off now. Do you have more questions?
I have a couple more questions actually.
Okay.
So many students today, especially involved in ISEC, find that ISEC, or that their major isn't necessarily involved with direct ISEC and business in that world.
Right.
How did your eventual career path reflect what you studied? Since you kind of jumped around a little bit, but how did that?
Well, I think in a way I was basically drifting. I did not have a real plan. I've always been envious of those who had an absolute plan. This is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to prepare myself for it, and I will reach my destination doing it. I have been much more kind of continually browsing, and as a result perhaps found myself maybe turning into more administrative assignments along the way, because I've been chairman of the Department of Management and Organization a couple of times. I was the associate dean for the graduate programs in the business school, and I was the chairman of the faculty senate for the whole university, and with that ex officio member of the board of regents. And so those have been very interesting opportunities to, in some sense, maybe put into application the material that I have had as my study base, you know, basically labeled management. But within that, then, you know, using very heavily forever the material that I gained at Cornell in the areas of social psychology, and anthropology, and that stood by. So I'm kind of, as I said, I'm a jack of all trades, and at times, of course, you know, you make kind of a depth wedge, and the year that we spent in France, I basically spent that on 2 separate topics. One was existentialism, you know, Sartre and so on, and then at the same time also studying a watchmaking factory in France called Lip, which was experiencing problems with their labor force. The labor force buried the inventory of watches in the forest as a ransom, and then they fired the ownership and management and said they were incompetent. And so there was a lot of this notion of worker ownership going on in France, and so I was out at Lip in Besançon and interviewed and collected a lot of material that I still have on the shelf, but maybe I can activate that now into some more of a formal publication, because it never reached that stage. And in fact, I went back a second year and lived by myself in Besançon and continued to look at the material from Lip. no, I don't have the lip watch on me, but that was kind of the Cadillac watch that was produced in France. But they were totally bypassed by the creation of the quartz, the battery watch, and they were very slow in picking up the progress. And in fact, eventually, the whole lip organization came down to the printing press that had become extremely active, maintaining contact with all of the unionized workforces around Europe, sending out news and publications and so on. The Lilliputian printing press. That's all that survived of the lip watch manufacturing company. And nowadays, lip as a mark is just like Polaroid. That lip organization doesn't exist, but the mark lip is continually used for publicity purposes. So that was kind of an interesting experience along the way. Did a lot of good for my French again. You know, kind of gave me a second opportunity in that.
So throughout this story of education and everything else, how has ISEC impacted your life, and how does ISEC fit in?
Well, if you think about it, ISEC provided a continuation of the Scandinavian praxis, which was an attempt at being beyond the boundaries of any single nation. And then ISEC itself, as an activity and as a chapter, became an international dimension, kind of pointing to the importance of being involved internationally, particularly when your home base was a small country. And so here you are going to be interested in language competence. And so that, in a way, was something that ISEC also provided me with this exposure to languages. And as I had earlier talked about my interest in language, that in some sense was just further supported by the activities within ISEC. And at the same time, it has continually re-established, so to speak, the international dimension. And so here I've been the faculty advisor first for the German group. I guess I was the only one who by now knows German. And so we have this arrangement of students can have a geographic language area interest for possible internship, possible application in their careers in the past. And then I switched to become the faculty advisor for the French interested students. So again, I kind of had that as part of my base. And even now, as I retired, I'm still holding the position of faculty director for international exchange alliances. And so this involves contacts with other business schools in particular in other parts of the world who are interested in having student exchange relationships, faculty exchange relationships with us. And being on the Pacific Rim, of course, we are seen as very strong from the other side of the Pacific Ocean. You know, Japan, Korea, China, Indonesia, Taiwan, and so on. And so a lot of contact